8 of spades. Big round of applause for my 3 helpers. Nicely done. Now, I do that to illustrate the point and to ask the question, is it possible to influence the thoughts, choices, behaviors, and actions of the people around you? Is it possible? I mean, this is a trick. Yes, this has to be a trick. Is it possible in real life, not just in a show setting like this, but in real life, to influence the thoughts, choices, behaviors, and actions of the people around you? Is it possible? Yeah, you're all like, apparently, right? Here's the real answer, though. In real life, it's impossible not to. Everything you do and everything you say influences the very neurochemistry of the people around you. Everything you don't do and don't say influences people on a deep subconscious level and affects their thoughts, choices, behaviors, and actions. We have 2 parts of our brain. One is called a horse and one is called a rider. The rider thinks he's in charge. But who's really in charge? I mean, who's got their hooves on the ground? There's a pile of hay over here, and the horse is hungry. Where are they going? Right, to the pile of hay so the horse can get his munch on. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? But you can make him thirsty. And that's the secret behind this nonverbal, subliminal, subconscious communication that we all must master in our lives, because the truth is, you're doing it already. But the problem is, we're doing it in a way that is accidental and not intentional. I coach a lot of other speakers, and the first thing I make them do is I make them videotape themselves. Right? That's the very first thing I do is make them videotape themselves. And we watch the tape, and what do I find? What do they always say? Right? Besides, oh, I look so fat in that. Right? What do they always say? Because 100% of the time, I'll look at their body language, and 100% of the time, there's something to correct. There's something to adjust. Every single person I've ever consulted with, they're doing something glaringly wrong with their body language. So what do they always say? I didn't even know I did that. And body language makes up a huge chunk of what we communicate. In 1967, Dr. Albert Mehrabian in UCLA uncovered the fact that 93% of what we communicate is nonverbal. 55% is made up of body language, 38% is made up of paralanguage, which is what we call vocal tonality, and 7% is made up by the words that we say. So, if nonverbal communication is so important, and it is, imagine taking the biggest tool out of your toolbox and just swinging it around like a crazy person. Just waving it around like a chainsaw or a jackhammer with no regard to who you're hitting or the damage you're causing. And that is what most people do with their body language, isn't it? Right? I don't even know I do that. Now, here's the thing. We all know how to read body language. Here's your first language. I'm not here to teach you how to read body language. That's the easy part. You're looking at other people all day long, reading their body language, and your horse brain is doing what we call a threat assessment. The first time you see a person, your horse brain does a threat assessment. I'm going to give you a little insight into your brain right now. The rider lives right about here. Okay, it's called the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. I'm sure you're writing this down. It can process about 7 plus or minus 2 pieces of information at one time. 7 plus or minus 2. In fact, that number in recent studies, because that was discovered in the 1950s by Dr. George Miller, recent studies put that number closer to 4 because we don't have to remember anything anymore. Because we have these now. I don't got to remember nothing, right? I push a button, I say, call my wife. I don't even have to remember her name. You know what I'm saying? Like, this thing does everything for me. It's amazing. So here's the situation, right? That number is closer to 4 now. So everybody in this half of the room, from this table and this table, everybody here, I want you to remember the number 9738. You got it? 9738. No writing down. That's cheating. Got it? Cool. Everybody else, your job is to remember the number 1472. 98611 004 37962 Got it? No, it's gone, right? But I thought the brain was the world's greatest supercomputer. Why can't we remember a 9-digit number? What's your number? In your face. You see, that's amazing. The brain is incredible. So here's the difference, right? The difference is memory experts, by the way, find out ways to get to tap down into their horse brain. All right. So part of my act when I perform normally would be to memorize a Rubik's Cube that has been scrambled up by the audience and then solve it blindfolded. Takes me about 5 or 6 minutes to do that, right? There's a little video that plays in the background. I'll memorize an entire magazine in about an hour. Now, again, I don't do this to say, oh, look at what great a memory I have. In fact, I have a really bad memory. The truth is, I've just found ways to tap into my horse brain. And that's what we need to do, not just for ourselves, but for the people around us. Because again, if you want to create behavior change, if you want to truly connect with people, rather than just communicate at people, you must get down to this horse level, the part of the brain that is controlling the vast majority of our behaviors and our actions. In fact, 87% of the day is controlled by the horse brain. You ever drive to work and get there and be like, how did I get here? Did I hit any pedestrians on the way? Right? Who was driving the car? The horse was driving the car, right? Wait, you ever wake up in the morning and have a set routine that you go through? Right, guys, we tend to start shaving on the same side of our face, or you tend to start brushing your teeth on the same side every single day because the horse loves habit. For me, when I start shaving, right, usually right about here. Got to keep these from growing together. Sometimes they're on a mission to just reach out and touch each other, and it's just not good. It's my Portuguese background. It's from my mom's side. What can I say? I get it from my mom. So the situation here is the horse brain is controlling you ever take the Cheerios and put them back in the fridge and put the milk in the cabinet? Right? Who's doing this stuff? The horse is running the show for the vast majority of the day. So it's critically important, again, that we get down to that level. And the way to speak horse language is to speak non-verbal communication. Remember the person that walks in and we do a threat assessment, right? Your horse, by the way, your horse doesn't do 7 plus or minus 2 or 4 plus or minus 2 pieces of information at a time. Your horse can process over 2 billion bits of information at a time. That's where the world's greatest supercomputer is. So when you see somebody, your brain is doing all kinds of calculations based on their body language, right? You're seeing their posture. You're seeing their gestures. You're seeing their eye movement and their facial expression and their stance and their arm motions. You're seeing all that. Your brain is doing a bunch of calculations and then spitting out a report to your rider saying good or bad or I want to date that person. Right? There is a vibe that we get. You ever experience a vibe? Got a vibe from that guy. Can't quite put my finger on it. There's just something about them that rubs me the wrong way. What's going on? Your horse is doing all kinds of crazy stuff behind your back without you even being aware of it. And this happens all day long. Horse brains are communicating with one another all day long using the language of non-verbal communication. So let's talk a little bit about not how to read body language. Your horse brain's pro at that, your first language. Let's talk a little bit about how to speak body language. How to use your body to communicate the number one emotion that you need to communicate in order to create true connection with another human being, in order to create true influence and connect on a horse level.